There are some serious unsuspecting carbs out there. I'm talking about foods that do have an impact on ketosis, foods that do have an impact on your overall health and fitness goals, and foods that flat out aren't what they seem. So I'm gonna break down the 3 most common unsuspecting high carb foods. But real quick, I wanna remind you to turn on notifications so you can see whenever I post a video and never miss one. But I also want you to subscribe if you haven't already. That way you're seeing the 3 or 4 videos per week that I'm putting up. So let's get right down to the science. What are the 3 unsuspecting high carb foods? The first one is going to be sugar alcohols. Okay, if you've ever seen a label and you look at the nutrition facts and it says sugar alcohols on it, you might be thinking that, well, hey, that doesn't affect my carbohydrate count for the day, or that doesn't affect my calories because it doesn't really get digested. Wrong. Let me tell you what a sugar alcohol is. What it's not is a sugar, and it's not an alcohol. It's a hybrid of the two. And the way it's metabolized in the body is completely unique. You see, sugar alcohols are known as a polyol. Polyols are still technically carbohydrates, even though food labels like to list them as not being that. You see, they're broken down in the body rather differently from normal carbohydrates, but the end result is still a carb. When you consume a sugar alcohol, we don't have enzymes to break them down. So you end up just having that sugar alcohol pass through your system, partially undigested, or for the most part, not being able to be broken down. Then it goes into your colon, where the body sees, okay, there's something that hasn't been broken down, it has to do something. So it draws water into the colon through something known as passive diffusion. This passive diffusion process draws water to break down those sugar alcohols that you just consumed. That fermentation process actually ends up yielding a caloric response. Basically what that means is you end up having anywhere from 1 to 3 calories for every 1 gram of sugar alcohol that you consume. So to put this in perspective, when you consume a gram of sugar, it has 4 calories. Well, when you consume a gram of sugar alcohol, you can have up to 3 calories. So it's really not that much better than regular sugar in the first place. Now here's a quick way that you can figure out how many calories roughly, or how many carbs you can really count when it comes to sugar alcohols. If you look on a label and it says you have 10 sugar alcohols, you're gonna wanna count 5 of those. Basically, take the sugar alcohol number and count half of it towards your overall carbohydrate count for the day. That's the simplest way to do it. Now let's move into the next one, okay? This is fiber, and fiber is a big hot topic when it comes down to ketosis, when it comes down to our metabolism. Because most people will tell you that fiber isn't broken down in the body and therefore doesn't have a metabolic response or a carb impact. That's not entirely true. Fiber is a carbohydrate whether we like it or not. We just don't have the enzyme to break it down. So generally speaking, it passes through our colon, partially undigested, and doesn't have a huge impact on blood sugar. But what it does do is something extremely unique. You see, particularly soluble fiber. Soluble fiber draws water in with it, and it creates a gel-like substance, okay? And this gel-like substance goes through your small intestine and then sits in your colon for a little bit. And through a similar process to that of sugar alcohols, it ferments. And this fermentation process creates short-chain fatty acids. Yes, carbohydrates end up creating fatty acids. Who would have thought? The body's pretty amazing. So these short-chain fatty acids have a caloric impact. In fact, even the Food and Drug Administration, the wonderful FDA, claims that fiber still yields about 2 calories per gram, which means you're having a thermic effect, you're having a metabolic response, you are still digesting some component of that fiber and still having an energy response. So yes, fiber will break a fast. Yes, too much fiber can affect ketosis. And yes, too much fiber can be a sneaky high carb thing. So just make sure that you're being careful. At the end of the day, we still want fiber. It's still roughage. It's still gonna increase that bowel motility, and it's gonna make life a lot easier. So don't get rid of it, just be aware of it. Okay, lastly, let's talk about the big sneaky one, and that's gonna be the starchy vegetables. And I've got a real interesting bit of science to share with you that's really gonna blow your mind. Okay, starchy vegetables in general. We're looking at things like zucchini, we're looking at peas, we're looking at corn, all these vegetables that trick us because they're vegetables. Well, the fact of the matter is, just because they're starches doesn't mean they don't affect our bodies just like regular glucose does, especially when it comes down to heated starches. You see, the best way that I can describe it is actually with my hands. All right, so you've got a starch molecule. In this case, I'm gonna say it's 4 glucose molecules bound together as a starch molecule. Well, let's say you heat that starch molecule up, okay? Well, the heating is going to cause them to expand because that's what heat does. So the application of heat makes those starch molecules expand. Now, instead of having a starch molecule that my body needs to break down, I have 4 individual glucose molecules that the body breaks down really fast. So yes, the starchy vegetables can backfire. You just need to be sure that you're being extremely, extremely careful and A, not heating them too much, but B, also looking at the glycemic index scale of those veggies and making sure that you're not taking too many of them in. Because I have seen people on many occasions get themselves kicked out of ketosis by having too much zucchini and too much squash when they think they're doing a good thing. So as always, everybody, make sure that you're commenting any questions that you have or new video suggestions. And again, make sure you're turning on the notifications and make sure that you enjoy all these new videos coming from our wonderful new DL Media studio here in California. I will see you soon.